Win as one. EA Sports FIFA 21 sponsors Saturday Social.
Hey, right, we're moving on, though, to chat now about referees, because there has been quite a lot of controversy over the last week about some of the decisions that are being made in the Premier League. One decision in particular really hit the headlines. It was actually in the Brighton versus West Brom game. We can have a look at this here with Lewis Dunk taking a quick free kick, and I want you to listen for the ref's whistle. So there you can see the ref blew twice, once when he kicked the ball and once just before it crossed the line. Now, Lewis Dunk was absolutely raging that goal was chalked off, in my opinion, rightly so. And after the game, he gave a brilliantly honest interview to Sky Sports about it.
It's embarrassing. It's a horrendous decision. I said to the ref, can I take it? He blew his whistle, I took it. Just because he got so much pressure from the bench and the players, he just allows the goal. VAR don't know what he said. It's a horrendous decision. Why don't he come speak to the press, like me? Why don't he come and say his point? Never. They hide behind their bubble. It's fine, isn't it?
Absolutely raging there, Lewis Dunk. I have to say, I love it, though. HP, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on that?
His head was gone. Oh, do you know what? I totally understand it, though, because, I mean, you've been given the green light to take a free kick, and just before the ball's about to go in the back of the net, you blow the whistle. So it's obviously a bit of a weird situation. So that's why when all the players rushed to the referee, I understood it, because it doesn't make no sense. It's a goal in my eyes, and I think the referee actually has to take responsibility for that, because when players do stuff like that, they have to take responsibility, and I think the referees should do the same thing. I think there has to be some changes in the way things are going, because the refereeing, for me, as a football fan, hasn't been the best and hasn't been of the quality that we usually associate it to. And, you know, for him not to even have anything to say to the public, is Lewis Dunk's got all the right to be angry, because what is that? I mean, I don't agree with that at all.
Yeah, it's an interesting point that you make and that Lewis Dunk made post-match. Kieran, what are your thoughts? He said that he wants referees to come and speak to the media afterwards. Do you think that would help the situation? If we knew as viewers what the referees were doing and why they gave so many decisions, would you like to see that ref speak after the media?
I think it sounds like a good idea, but I don't think in practice it would be. I just think they would just get more abuse, because I think they would people are human. They would come out and, like, essentially you don't want to hear the ref say I made a mistake, because that's your team. You're like, well, that could be us going up or winning something or going down. So I think ignorance is bliss. I think I don't want to know what the ref was thinking, because he's probably just had a howler. I think just leave it be. Just be annoyed at the vacuum of no response from the referee. I think you've just got to. They're human. I think just leave them alone.
Is the counter argument to that, though, Harry? I know what you're saying, Kieran, but is the counter argument to that, though, if they did come out and speak, that then we would understand and know what's going on? If a ref does say I've made a mistake, do we then at least we understand and we know what's going on? I think, is there a frustration amongst fans this season that certain decisions are being made and people don't know why they're being made?
For me, yeah. Also, it's more like they're just not doing the right things. Like, if you've made a mistake, yeah, I think, like, it's the only thing to do is to come out with a statement and say, yes, I'm in the wrong. Because when you don't say nothing and there's a radio silence, yeah, it just gives a source of, like, entitlement. Like, you know, I'm a referee and I can make these decisions and that's final. These are costing big decisions in games. Let's say, for example, that caused, I don't know, Brighton to get relegated. Are we just going to let that slide and just think, okay, cool, well, it's the referee's decision? I don't think that's fair, because
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of
Do you know
things,
what I think as well?
knock-on effect.
I have to say, I feel like, from my perspective, I think if referees were mic'd up, like, I know this isn't forever debate, everybody keeps chatting about it, but if a referee had a mic on and you could hear the decision-making process, like, I watch a lot of rugby union and I think that it's done perfectly in there, because you can hear what the referee is communicating with the TMO, you can understand the decision-making process, and even if the decision is slightly controversial, you can go, okay, I can understand how they came to that decision at least. At the moment, I'm just left thinking, what have they done? Like, how have they come to that conclusion?
Joe, as a rugby fan then, when you watch that, does that make your understanding, even if it's a bad decision, I know there was some controversial decisions recently in a high-profile match in rugby, does it make you understand it more? Then at least then you go, I don't agree with it, but at least I understand the process. Because that's what I think we need in football is just to understand the process of how the refs get to these decisions.
Yeah, 100%. You like, I don't want to go back to the humanizing element, but you can at least understand the point of like why effectively they've come to that decision. And I understand the counter argument is like in football, referees get so much abuse and you just be able to hear that abuse and the pressure would be so big. And it's just another layer of sort of a reason for people to hate referees. But at the moment, it's just like a catastrophe. I don't know what's going on. It feels like decisions are getting worse week by week and we're getting no explanation about it. I don't know whether you guys
I think as well, yeah.
Go on.
I think it's the same thing, Joe, because look, for me, even with VAR, yeah, we've seen, I can say 100% that VAR has been less successful than it has been successful. Then alongside with the refereeing and having to wait and stuff, it's like sometimes I don't feel like the referees are in control of the game because they're having to wait for a decision from someone that's not even in the stadium. Then that slows down the game. And I've spoken to a lot of football players and they're honestly saying that it's killing the game as well. So I think there needs to be a change in how we're policing the game because we've already added technology to it and we haven't done it efficiently the way I feel like it should have been done. The idea is great, but the way they're delivering it hasn't been. And I agree with Joe, miking up referees and allowing the viewers and allowing everyone to be able to hear what the referee said. So it's factual. I've cancelled a goal or I've given the goal. That needs to be a part of the game because now we're in a position where players I can see are falling out of love with the game because of these decisions. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because it wasn't like this when we was growing up. So for me, I think it's one of those where there needs to be initiative taken before it gets too late.
Agreed.
It's an interesting point Harry makes about speaking to players about. I've totally agree with you. I've spoken to players that have voiced similar concerns about it, and I remember Kevin De Bruyne. I think it was after the Spurs defeat, saying that even some of the players don't understand all the rules. Kieran, do you think, just on Harry's point about VAR, there, that VAR actually was brought in to help referees, but is it actually hindering them in a way because you've got another referee in Stockley Park, nowhere near what's going on, telling the ref to almost critiquing referees' decisions? Do you think that affects how much control the ref has on the game in a negative way?
I think it's just it's being used in the wrong way in that it's trying to most of the time, 90% of the time, it's trying to justify the referee's decision rather than actually independently look at the ref and be like, oh, that's a foul or that's a handball or whatever. I think we should. I think people look back on with no VAR, with tinted glasses because I thought the amount of mistakes they actually make are quite a lot. And if you see something that is actually offside and it's given as a goal, it's absolutely killer, like painfully offside.
I do know what you mean a little bit with VAR there. Like now that the genie's out of the box, you can't put it back in. Do you know what I mean? You can't now go back to no VAR completely.
They would never do it, but I think we should have one season where we don't have it again. And if everyone enjoys it, then we just keep it.
But what do you think about VAR though? Yeah,
just put it off.
You see with VAR, I think sometimes though, VAR can kind of make the referee look bad. And I think, for example, if the VAR was to start telling the truth and said, okay, cool, that decision you made is wrong, and it happened more than enough, I think word will get around and people start to think, what's the point of having these referees if VAR is going to be there? And that's one thing I don't want it to do. I don't want it to diminish the job referees do because it is a great job.
But do you not think mics would do that a little bit? Like miking up the ref would also do that. Like that would diminish them a little bit.
They're not human beings.
If they made a mistake.
A referee's eye who is 50 yards from an incident is not going to be able to pick that up at all. It's impossible. So if there's a way where referees can actually review a decision that they can't see, because that's essentially, sometimes they do it off impulse. They might have seen a tackle, but not seen if it connected, and it's off impulse or off the linesman who's another 50 yards away. So if we are going to use technology, it needs to aid the referees rather than work against them. And I think that's what it's been doing of late, working against them and making them look like they're not professional when they really are.